So Phil Heath did a podcast recently where he talked about the drug use in bodybuilding, or his use in particular. And he, just like every other bodybuilder that admits these things, they downplay it as much as they possibly can. Every single one of them. You'll never see one of them come out there and say, you know, I got to my size and muscularity because I abused drugs for many, many years. And that's how I got to be, 260 pounds and shredded and all this. You'll never hear any of them say that. They'll say like, oh yeah, I took drugs, but it was like very little compared to everyone else. And it was mostly about the training, the dedication, the discipline, the fucking nutrition and all this bullshit. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's like, what do you think is going to improve muscle gains more? Like focusing on fucking eating every 3 hours or whatever the fuck they say, or their supplements that they push, taking BCAAs and whatever bullshit, or taking a ton of tests with a bunch of other drugs stacked on top, as well as a growth hormone and insulin, every day basically, for months and years on end. I mean, because that's what builds a physique like that. Not eating fucking chicken and fish 6 times a day, which is what they always fucking claim, that it's about the fucking diet, it's like diet is 90% of bodybuilding. It's like total bullshit. So again, the reason they downplay these, the dosages when they admit to using drugs in bodybuilding is because they want to portray an image of being superhuman, larger than life. When in reality, a lot of these guys are just bloated dwarfs. They're like 5'7", and they look ridiculous. And so yeah, it sounds way cooler to say, oh, I got to be this level of physique because of my extreme genetics, and I just work harder than everyone else. In reality, it's mostly about the drugs to get to that level of size, that level of muscularity, that is. You see the bodybuilders from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and so on, they just kept getting more and more muscular. And it's not that like training and nutrition practices have been revolutionized in the last 20 years or whatever. It's not that at all. Or training is like, oh, the training methods we have now are so much better. It's all the same shit. You do bench press for chest and squats for legs and so on. It's all the same shit, simple stuff. And the one who makes the most gains is the one who's going to have the best genetics, the best, because that includes the response to the drugs, of course. But that doesn't mean that if you have a good response to taking drugs in bodybuilding, that you're just going to fuck with a low dose and that's it. Because these guys' whole persona, their whole livelihood and everything about them is based on them being like this super muscular, shredded, jacked guy. So for them, the idea of like taking drugs to achieve that look is just like a foregone conclusion. And a lot of them, take insane amounts and end up having to do gay for pay or some other, less than reputable things to make the money to buy all the growth hormone and everything else. So, I mean, like, it's funny when I had a guy
steak, beans, cheese, corn, chicken, peppers, lettuce.
It's not that fucking complicated. And most of them don't even eat that in the off season anyways, necessarily. So it's not as hardcore as they make it out to be. And you'll never hear them admit that shit ever. So
love this conversation because I took less than everybody, and I can point it out. I have blood work from the very beginning.
How deep can you go into that?
Okay, so I won to Miss USA taking 500 milligrams of testosterone with a shot of Deco a week. I didn't have any money, but I whipped everybody's ass. First crack at it, and quoted as one of the greatest Mr. USAs of all time. Step mill.
You use the step mill as the 10th exercise. And did you
Because I can carve out the legs. I can, I can do glutes with that.
Did you ever do that weighted?
Yeah, actually I did. I wore a weight vest for, what show was that? It was early in my career. I would wear like weight vests and I would wear like ankle weights.
Ha! Gay!